London, August 1971. Prabhupada had asked the Indian High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to petition Prime Minister Indira Gandhi to attend ISKCON's upcoming cornerstone laying ceremony in Mayapur. Already Prabhupada had instructed all his GBC secretaries to attend the ceremony. Prabhupada just obtained this land, small piece of land in Mayapur, and now he's thinking how to establish this plant, world headquarters of ISKCON in Mayapur. And he asked the devotees to invite many prominent citizens of Calcutta. Writing to his disciples in India, he said that if they could not get Indira Gandhi to come, they should at least get the governor of Bengal, Sri S.S. Devan. Meanwhile, Prabhupada was meeting in London with several of his disciples experienced in architecture and design. He wanted them to draft plans for his Mayapur project. Narayan had built Rathayatra carts and designed temple interiors. Ranchor has studied architecture. That's Ranchor in London. You know Ranchor in London? No, don't know. You may have seen him, but you may not know him. No, you don't know Ranchor in London, do you?
Not specifically.
You've heard of it?
No. I might have seen him, but I don't know who.
Maybe one of the first devotees, English devotees.
Okay.
And he was the temple president in Soho Street, but he started the temples in Manchester. He was particularly active in Manchester in the early days. And Bhavananda had been a professional designer, but Prabhupada himself conceived the plan for the Mayapur building. Bhavananda was in London at that time, on his way to India. He then told his three-man committee to provide sketches and an architect's model. He would immediately begin raising funds and securing support in India for the project. To the devotees who heard Prabhupada's plans, this seemed the most ambitious ISKCON project ever. While taking his morning walks in Russell Square, Prabhupada would point to various buildings and ask how high they were. Finally, he announced one morning that the main temple in Mayapur should be more than 300 feet high. Mayapur's monsoon floods and sandy soil would create unique difficulty, he said, and the building would have to be built on a special foundation, a sort of floating raft. A civil engineer later confirmed this. The first building, Prabhupada said, should be a large guest house, 4 stories high, and his design, although not strictly conforming to any one school of architecture, resembled most that of Rajasthan. He wanted a pink and rust-coloured building with many arches and a wide marble veranda on each floor, except the ground floor. The building should run east-west so that the sun would pass lengthwise over it and not shine directly into the building's broad front. Southerly breezes would cool the guest house in summer. The building should be equipped with electric fans and lights, modern toilets and showers, and the rooms should be furnished, spacious and well ventilated. This guest house should be built as soon as possible, the Prophet said. Then other buildings would follow. He wanted residential buildings for 500 devotees, a large prasadam hall, seating several thousand, a kitchen complex and a Goshala. In time, ISKCON would acquire adjoining land and develop parks with flower gardens, trees and shrubs, fountains, walkways and arbors. The main building, the colossal Mayapur Chandradori Mandir, was to be no less than 300 feet high and costing perhaps tens of millions of dollars. Prabhupada's descriptions astounded the architects as well as the devotees. It sounded grander than the United States Capitol or St. Peter's Cathedral. The temple's central dome would house a three-dimensional model of the universe. The design, however, would be based on the Vedic description and would depict not only the material universe but also the spiritual universe. Now this was being written in around about, I suppose, 1980s. Entering the main hall, a person would look up and see the planets situated just as Srimad Bhagavatam describes, beginning with the hellish planets, then the middle planets. The Prabhupada was talking this in 1971. It was written, talked, recorded, 71. Then the middle planets wherein the earth is situated, then the heavenly planets of the demigods, and then Brahmaloka, the highest planet in the material world. Above Brahmaloka, the observer would see the abode of Lord Shiva, and above that the spiritual sky or Brahmajyoti. Within the spiritual effulgence of the Brahmajyoti would be the self-illuminating Vaikuntha planets, inhabited by eternally liberated souls. And highest of all would be the supreme planet of Krishna love, where God in his original eternal form enjoys his pastimes with most confidential devotees. The temple would also house a miniature palace in which the deities of Radha and Krishna would reside, surrounded by silks and pillars of silver, gold and jewels. The Mayapur Chandradori Mandir and the Mayapur city would be ISKCON's world headquarters. And why such a fabulous architectural wonder as this in such an obscure part of the world? The answer, Prabhupada explained, was that Mayapur was actually not obscure. It seemed so only from the mundane perspective. The mundane vision, that which was central seemed remote. The soul on the next life seemed remote, while the body and immediate sense gratification seemed central. By establishing a temple of human understanding in Mayapur, it's interesting, it's called the Temple of Human Understanding in Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada will be directing the materialistic world's attention back to the true center. Any sincere visitor would be charmed by the beauty of ISKCON's Mayapur project and would perceive that here indeed was the spiritual world, and that the devotees living in Mayapur, by remaining constantly immersed in singing Hare Krishna Kirtan and discussing the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, will be able to convince any intelligent visitor that the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were the highest truth. The devotees would explain the philosophy of the absolute truth, which would enable visitors to comprehend actual spiritual truth beyond sectarian religious dogma. Furthermore, the continuous Hare Krishna Kirtan and the blissful devotees engaged in a wide variety of services to Lord Krishna would demonstrate how Bhakti Yoga was the simplest, most direct process for meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While staying in ISKCON's Mayapur city, a person would quickly become a devotee of the Lord and begin chanting and dancing in ecstasy. Srila Prabhupada was demonstrating how the world could be spiritualized by linking material things with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, through Bhakti Yoga, and why shouldn't such spiritual feats surpass the achievement of the materialists? Kind of a big, I guess, one of the reasons Bhavananda happened to be there at the time why he's so involved in the temple of, they call it Temple of Vedic Planetarium now, TOVP. depends how Prabhupada used the term here. There's a different term. Temple of Human Understanding. Maybe change it later. I don't know. Yeah, Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Have you been to Mayapur? Have you been to Mayapur? You've seen the pictures. The temple of China. Oh, look, there's there. This is Veda Devi in Scotland. There used to be parrots flying around in there when I first went. Well, not first went. One time. Jaya Radha Madhava Open the book on prayers by Queen Kunti. A few prayers of Queen Kunti. Quite famous prayers of Queen Kunti. start with text 25, chapter 8, in the Bhagavatam, canto 1, text 25 onwards. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Ivada Santu Takshashvat Tatta Tatta Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsya Apurna Bhavadarshanam. You know this verse?
No,
You don't know the Praise of Queen Kunti?
no, I didn't know that.
You heard these before? Praise of Queen Kunti?
Maybe in part, but I can't remember.
You've been through these?
Don't think so.
You know these prayers? You memorize them? Some of those do this. It's one of the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita also probably, they're full of prayers. And these are some of the famous prayers of Queen Kunti. So many different prayers throughout the Bhagavatam. Various devotees often their prayers, sometimes even persons who are in a fallen condition who someone that came to their senses and then began praying. Also there. So these are some of the most famous prayers. This one is very famous. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we would see you again and again, for seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So the famous verse. Prabhupada says in the purport, generally the distressed, the needy, the intelligent and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by the illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though there are so-called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nescience, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hoofs of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with a place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place, full of calamities. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. It's nature, so no how much we try to adjust to improve the calamities, it's still a calamity. But this word means simply turmoil and annoyance. You can't avoid it. You can transcend it if you can, turn a blind eye to it if you wish, but it's still there. That's the nature of this world. Sometimes people think we're going to transform this world, materially speaking, into some kind of paradise, some utopia, but it's not the nature of this world. Even the heavenly planets, in one sense, from our perspective, they're pretty utopian, but from a spiritual perspective, they're also places of suffering. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization, because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities. Therefore the so-called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger and there is no suffering. It's simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a forward step on the path going back to God. Not that we should necessarily impose suffering artificially or by some mechanistic method, and with the intention, now I will take shelter of the Lord. But we accept that which comes by its own accord or by the will of Providence. Take shelter of Krishna. You don't, generally speaking, interfere with the will of Providence. The next verse is very nice. Janmaishvaya Shukashibir Edamanam Adak Puman Naiva Hatya Vidatam Vai Dramakinchana Gocharam. A famous word, Akinchana Gocharam. Akinchana Gocharam means one of he is Lord Akinchana is approached by one who is materially exhausted. Excuse me. Akinchana means materially exhausted. Translation. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. You may approach with some material motivation, ulterior motive, but not with sincere feeling. Sincere feeling refers to this anyabilas attachment, jnana kamajanapata. Means without any other motive. The word sincere comes from ancient Latin or something. It means without any blemish, no blemish, pure. Mixed. Purport. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. A nice family, a lot of wealth, well educated, beautiful things, and beautiful body, and so on. This is greatly aspired after by the majority of people. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up. It doesn't just mean, arrogantly proud. It may do also. That is also attached. We're very attached. We very think that this is mine and me and so many things. Become attached to this situation. The result is that by possessing all these, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing him feelingly. Feeling, oh Govinda, oh Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Two ways. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. It's an important point there. Depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the holy name in quality. Therefore the four principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature, as much as fever is an external feature of an unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the fever, the degree of the fever, and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it even seems that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign, as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. That's the end of the purpose. Hey. It's the same. Right. I suppose from the material point of view, this is not something which people would hanker for, to be materially impoverished. Because it has more meaning than just to be living on the street with a penniless beggar or something. It has a much deeper meaning, much more relevant meaning. It's not that to become a Krishna conscious one therefore has to become poverty stricken. It has to give everything away and make yourself look ugly and things like that. Or try to become completely illiterate, behave like a madman. No. That is, impoverishment is very least. It means that these things may be there. You may have some degree of wealth, some degree of this and that, education, so on, relative to others. We use it in Christian service. We know it's not really mine. This is the pride. Even in devotion service, we can get proud thinking I'm, something special. You may be still hanging on to the material pride as well. Proud because I've got some material qualifications, something good birth. I was born like myself. I always advertise my good birth, how I was born in Pig Hill, in Swine Down, the down hall, the holy down. But we may be attached, proud of our country, our bodies sometimes also, trying to show off or enjoy our bodies, show off our knowledge, our degrees, PhD, or whatever it is. Something. We may be very successful, wealthy. So maybe, or in devotional service, we may be subtle and artists that crop up in devotional service. It could be anything. Be proud of our philosophical analysis, or be proud of our position, our ability and achievements. It could be anything, but pride could come up there. And this is the disqualification. Being able to approach the Lord with sincere feeling. if that's our motivation. Of course, if we recognize this as on our term, we may approach the Lord in a sincere feeling to free us from that and not be the case. Devotion. We may not be pure, we may have so many narcos. The devotee sincerely desires that we become free of these narcos. We know that on our own we can't really do it. We need the Lord's mercy. So the devotee approaches the Lord with sincere feeling. You see this prayers of Devahuti also, she's approaching Lord Kapila Deva with this sincere, please free me from this abyss of material existence, this bondage in the material world. She's praying sincerely like this, and then the Lord gives her the instructions to release her. There's not this idea which a lot of people have of, that the guru or some saintly person zaps us and kind of boom, there we are. That's not the idea. The idea is the spiritual master gives relevant instructions. If we are sincere, we wish to apply them in our lives, which would be appropriate to release us from our bondage in this world. A sincere devotee takes advantage of that and doesn't try to use it for an ulterior motive. Sometimes we may even do that also. We have some knowledge, directions, we use it to usurp others' position or to establish ourselves as something special. We don't have anything. Krishna explains clearly in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the ability in man. It's all his energy. And basically we have nothing other than our existence and our relationship with the Supreme. Everything else is a false, mentioned here, like a dream. It's like a dream. You think it's mine. You think I'm this body. You think I have knowledge. Types of dreamlike conditions which find ourselves in this world. And like every dream, it has its beginning and middle and end. It comes to an end. And another dream begins. We start thinking, same basic principle, but different things are mine and everything. Now this is me, a different body. And this way life goes on. And a sojourn, dream after dream in this material world. Till we have the good fortune and come to realize we don't belong here. This place is indeed from the heavenly planet, Abhama, Bhuvana, Lokapana, Vatimojana, to the lower planets everywhere is a place of suffering. Repeated birth and death. And then the devotee soul may take shelter of the Lord in sincerity, desiring to be released from this situation. Not just released from the sins. I think that I was reading this morning. Jesus he said, lo, he said in Old English, lo and behold, and he said, you are now, because he cured one sinful, one person had been so sick. And I said, somebody who had some sin, some disease, which we understand is a result of some sin, leprosy. Now I have cured you. So now I've cured you of your disease. Now go about your business, but do not commit sin anymore, he said, lest even worse things come about you. That's there in the Bible. Even there we see it. I've cured you now, you're free, he said, but don't do it again. Otherwise worse things may come upon you. That's what he told him. And Jesus is warning there, it's not just some kind of one-off thing. He's giving instructions, don't commit sins again. Otherwise worse things may come upon you. So the instructions to help release us from our bondage in this material world. It may not be easy when we're attempting. So usually it's a kind of a process, maybe step by step. Yes, very nice, very nice family. Was it very nice family? Prabodhanath Sattva. You say that. You're a very nice person. Very wonderful. Very glorious, very educated. Wonderful, wonderful. Very nice to meet you. But please give up all your nonsense. You may not be able to do that. It may not work. You're very powerful. Not everyone's willing to say that or accept that. In principle, that's the point. You may gradually, please, like what I was reading this morning, what was saying. Actually, I try to remember what he was saying. So we're taking this position as a beggar. If I go to you, Mr. Birla, and Mr. Birla was a rich man in India, the Birla family is probably still there. So they were a very rich family. If I go to Mr. Birla and say, Mr. Birla, understand this, everything you have belongs to Krishna. You are an illusion if you think it belongs to you. You should immediately engage everything you have in Krishna's service. You can give it all to me and I will engage it all in Krishna's service because it all belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to you. You can come and say, he will simply say, go away. You will not give anything. You won't listen, you won't accept. He said, but if I come along dressed like this, and he said, this is why we're doing like this. I come as a beggar. Because as a beggar, Mr. Birla thinks, oh, very good. You want some money for the temple? Okay, I will give you some money for the temple. And please put my name on them. Donated by Mr. Birla. This pride is there. Thinking this is mine, I am giving. Just like Vamanadev took everything away. Bali Maharaj, the same thing was there. Bali Maharaj thought, I have given everything away. And he was satisfied. Going to his wife and Vyagri, this was a form of pride. It wasn't pure. It was understanding. He's being an example of Atmaniveda, and then Vyagri chastised him. This is not pure. You were proud of it. It was that way. You may be proud too, but pure devotees may engage people who have this pride, knowingly or unknowingly, they find a way to engaging them in Krishna service, engaging their wealth, engaging their talents, whatever it is, their knowledge in Krishna service, and that will gradually purify. This is a form of Yata Sukriti if you can somehow engage the wealth conditioned, attached to the entities in Krishna service. And to gradually help us to become purified of this pride, the identification, thinking this is me and mine. And gradually connecting that with Krishna, even though you may be attached to it, in the beginning it may not be pure devotional service, but at least it's beginning, and the path has begun. And something or another is engaged in connection with the Supreme Lord. It's the business of the devotee to try to connect others in this way, whatever they may temporarily be the karma and claim proprietorship over or identification with, to engage that in Krishna service. Mission. Otherwise they're bound up in their karmas. Not even in the future, even now, they're maybe well situated from a relative perspective, but still, you can't avoid suffering, even the most opulent conditions. Even the Queen, I'm sure, I don't know how she did, but I presume she suffered when Princess Diana died. I don't know, the whole different conspiracy theories, whatever they call it. But in principle, great personalities, they may also lose. Even the richest man in England. Interesting example. Hinduja, the Indian family is now considered the richest. They reveal their assets. That's listed assets. They're the richest family. £18 billion, I think that's true, in the UK. And they come every day to the temple in Suther Street. Solar Street, ISKCON. That's ISKCON. And they had an interesting experience. They had one son. This one. He had one son. And the son committed suicide. Heir to the richest family in England. He committed suicide. He wanted to marry a Muslim girl. His family refused to basically reject him. He was married. He committed suicide. And like complete, what a blow to the family. So then they started coming to the temple. They took up at least 100 years. So they started coming to the temple every day. Two brothers who lived in mountains, 4 years in mountains, come every day. And sometimes when things are taken away, he does us some good. It seems to have done them good, although it's a disastrous thing from a mature perspective, from a spiritual perspective. Something beneficial is there. And sometimes Krishna takes things away to clear that path. That's important. Take things away, obstacles on our path. We're so determinedly attached to things sometimes. You may not take it away straight away. The child is very attached, sometimes we have to learn by another methodology. Ready to that. This child too. He has to learn his own experience sometimes. Krishna goes. Devotees, even if Krishna, okay, you really want it? There you go. The devotees are sometimes more determined. Here, the devotee is crowded, as we know, Bhagavatam, then Canto Krishna takes things away. The one who is too much attached, the devotee is too much attached, and Krishna doesn't give what they're asking for, it almost frustrates us. We don't get the respect that we're looking for, we don't get the results that we're looking for. Come to pure devotional service. But these prayers of Queen Kunti are nice because they are the prayers of pure devotion. And by hearing and repeating these notable prayers describe it, we can also become purified of material motivations and approach to the Lord. And oftentimes we offer prayers in the background, we're really not exactly on the level of the prayer. Other motivation, some other attachment within our hearts. It's not really sincere. What we say, repeat, write, isn't completely sincere. It's still good, it's not completely sincere. So we don't get the complete results. So that lingering on material desires or sinful desires continues in our heart because we're not yet chanting with sincere feeling. There's still some desire to enjoy this material world. It's a response. It's still affected by the duality of this world. But by hearing the sincere prayers of great devotees, the more we can become purified of these mixed emotions. And a practice time association. Okay, I'm finished. Any questions? There's no question. Yes, sir.
You know, like here Prabhupada says that it's not very good to have like a good birth, you know, but in another place that he says that's very fortunate, in Bhagavad Gita particularly, I think, he says that it's very fortunate to get such birth, so you can have time for spiritual life, you don't need to worry about, you know, like supplying things or something, but here he says it's no good, so what's the...
The fortune is if that is the case. Because quite often when the Bhagavad Gita is kind of expected that if you're taking birth in a rich mercantile family, or pious family like that there'll be, like Prabhupada, who took birth in a fairly well-to-do mercantile family. But they were devotees. So, materially speaking, you didn't have too much to worry about, but his family were devotees. So they were brahmins, but they were devotees. It was a very good opportunity to, very advanced devotees to advance. That's the idea, that not just any old family, family of pious, a pious family, mercantile personality. But that's for those who've not advanced very far on the spiritual path. Krishna says those who are more advanced, those personally advanced, family of transcendentalists. This is valid for the transcendental. With whatever type of occupation. So it is fortunate, materially speaking, it's of course fortunate to take birth in a wealthy family, that is materially enough to work. But the real fortune which is indicated here is that they're spiritually mature. Not just materially wealthy, that's pure karma. But to take birth in a family they may also have wealth, they may also have good aristocracy and so on. But they're also, the real fortune is that they're also spiritually found, so they're not just materially well situated. That's the real good fortune. Otherwise it's not really, materially maybe it's some good fortune, but it's not the real good fortune. Because oftentimes in that situation one becomes very much attached to the pleasures of wealth, rich aristocracies. If one is in a family of transcendentalists, even if they are rich, doesn't have that, has the opportunity not to be bondage, let's say, to one's good karma, but to understand that this is all the mercy of Krishna and can be used in Krishna's service. They don't deny it either, it can be used in Krishna's service. They're not proud of thinking it's mine, to my enjoyment. Krishna's enjoyment. Of course, it's inevitable that there's enjoyment there, but they accept it in relationship with Krishna, not just in relationship to their own family or themselves. Otherwise, it's a bit of a curse to be born in a family of gross materialistic, totally oblivious to anything beyond material life. It's not a good workload. Very hellish. You're going to get a lot of karma. Unless one, understands, utilizes things in the right way. It's kind of more the attitude rather than the situation. One who has that understanding that nothing is mine, in a sense. Maybe utilizing it, of course, usually. Understanding it's the property of the Lord is considered to be materially polished, although they seem to be, they're considered to be more, in one sense, impoverished. So they have no personal wealth. Like caretaker, keeping it on behalf of the Lord, using it on behalf of the Lord. Thank you very much for the Krishna will end around about 1 o'clock, maybe a little earlier. We may have up to dawn, and there should be no rain today, it says. It may not be so sunny, but that's what it says. And after that, we plan to go to Sunderland. House and we'll come back and thank you.